Mr. Neville, you and your people, you talk about reparations. The reparations that you talk about, Mr. Neville, your people already got your reparations. Your reparations came in the form of a man named Barack Obama.
Please hold your response.
My advice to you, if you don't like it here in America, planes leave every hour from Tampa Airport. Go back to Africa. Go back to Africa. Go back.
On the side of the Ricks. Non-factor.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, I want to talk about, quote unquote, the race card. Because I'm hearing this a whole lot. Stop pulling the race card. Stop using the race card. Now, obviously, we know when someone says stop using the race card, it's probably going to be somebody who's most likely racist, telling you don't identify some racist stuff you see happening. Which is ironic because there are a whole lot of people talking about, I don't see race, but do nothing but talk about race while saying they don't see race. And how everybody else brings race into it, and how white people are the victims now of racism. In their own minds, of course. But let you bring up race in one scenario and you're crazy. But we see with the police shooting in Minnesota how quickly they see race. How quickly race can be brought into it. And just this whole scenario with O.J. Simpson being paroled. The reaction is still crazy from something that happened in, 1994, 1992?
All right, Madam Foreperson, you've had the opportunity to review the verdict forms. Are they the same forms that you signed, and are they in order?
We brought a TV to the Juice Club, where patrons began watching the verdict with a poker face, only to be shattered.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson.
Granted, they were sequestered for a long time and they haven't been exposed to what we have, but God.
So that you can afford a big shot lawyer and they'll have a lot of money for the case. You can get off with anything.
You know what? Johnny Cochran will be a rich guy. He will make a fortune. He will get lots of clients now, and I hope that he can sleep at night because he got a double murderer off the case. He's going to go home and feel happy. And what about his kids? How can he even look at his kids?
This afternoon, a residue of bitterness settled among the people here. A sense that justice is as much a casualty in this case as the victims themselves.
I think it's absolutely appalling. It gives me no faith in the jury system whatsoever.
The verdict may have resolved the question of one man's guilt or innocence.
I think it's a disgrace. I'm shocked.
Others watched in stunned disbelief and dismay.
Oh, shit.
Not guilty.
Another one. You heard the verdict. Can we ask your reaction?
I just want to be alone.
The police also listened, and as they heard the verdict, tried their best to follow an order to not react.
Not guilty of the crime of murder.
Inside the courtroom, the jurors were being polled.
Juror number 1.
At the same time, the debate had just begun.
I was absolutely disgusted, to be honest with you. I found it to be a shock. It left my jaw hanging on the ground, and I was in awe.
I'm very upset about it. It makes me upset that I live in this city now. I mean, I was upset before with the riots and all that, but now this is like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's sending a message also to the black community that they can get away with stuff like this.
I have a...
The emotional reaction inside the courtroom was matched in kind outside. Wherever Simpson supporters had gathered, there was jubilation of their skin.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime.
didn't do that. You know that was a big old hit, man, and it wasn't from O.J., man.
They should have not messed with it. If there was 2 gloves at the Bundy crime scene, you should have left it there. Don't try to implicate somebody if they wasn't there.
Title action. Find the defendant or involved James Simpson not guilty of the crime.
Put a man away for as many years as this crime would have warranted. You have to be sure about it, and it just wasn't there. Like, I didn't think it was there.
The same reaction is still going on. You know, there are some people who say OJ should never get out of jail. He should be buried under the jail. When in reality, the man is in jail for stealing his own football cards. Now, obviously, it wasn't over no burglary, over no football cards. Now, the disturbing thing is, we have like case after case since OJ of this happening to black people, and they're not upset. But one murder 20 years ago, they're still furious about. Mind you, we have cases like George Zimmerman where we know this man killed him. He admits it. It's not even a question. He has had a number of violent incidents after the killing of Trayvon Martin. And instead of saying, well, this dude is a psychopath who needs to be taken off of the streets, you justify the murder of a little kid. The boy couldn't even vote. He couldn't buy cigarettes. He couldn't join the military. He was not a man yet. He was a little kid, and you justify this murder. But O.J. Simpson, 20 years ago, who you still can't really prove that he did it. You believe that he did it. And this man gets 9 years for stealing football cards that courts gave back to him anyway. What kind of sentence is that? And I know OJ said, hey, I'm not black. I'm OJ.
Well, I'm not black. I'm OJ.
Okay. We understand that your ass is black. What happens to him is nothing but a demonstration of what happens to all of us. Whether he thinks he's black, whether we think he's black, it doesn't matter. They still see us all the same fucking way. And all this is doing is just highlighting the hypocrisy these people have. All of a sudden now is a problem. All of a sudden now it's so sad. But the thing is, these people get the goddamn results. George Zimmerman won't see a day in jail. O.J. Simpson, 9 years for stealing the football card. Hell, that lady Carolyn Bryant, who lied on Emmett Till, admit that she lying, probably won't see a police officer for the rest of her days. I thought it wasn't no statute of limitation on murder cases. But the point is, they demand results and they get results. All we doing is asking and begging and pleading and hoping and praying that they change their ways and somehow reform, but that's not going to happen. Everything that we have gotten as far as we have came, we have had to fight them tooth and nail for every inch of it. And as far as we have to go, we're going to have to fight them tooth and nail for every inch of it. But we have to start asking ourselves the question, what are we fighting for? Are we fighting to be integrated with them? Which is a horrible idea if you ask me. Or should we be directing our passion and our fuel and our anger towards actually liberating ourselves? We are the majority in the world, yet we believe and call ourselves minorities.
You know what I think, bro? I think you're full of shit, black boy.
Is that what you think I am? I'm black. I'm Dominican. You're Dominican? See.
Get the fuck out of here. Let's go.
And the thing about it is, as much as these people tell you, well, you know, violence is not the answer. You know, look at Martin Luther King, even though they killed Martin Luther King, but they love to throw Martin Luther King in your face. They done beat you over the head with this Bible that tells you to turn the other cheek. Meanwhile, they're putting all of their money into military, into guns, into nuclear weapons, into soldiers, even though they don't pay each soldier individually much. And they would rather give their life before they are ever oppressed or even come close to becoming endangered. They learned how to put their nationalities, what they identify as, to the side. You know, they are Irish, they are Italian, they are German, they are British. But at the end of the day, they know how to put down their nationalities for the greater good of the white society. And, you know, they feed you all of this race card and race baiting BS when they realize if you unify under the banner of black, it would be a whole different ball game. I mean, we built everything we need to build, but we have not been able to protect it. And once we learn that part, we can build anything we want to build. And the thing is, we get so caught up in the surface level arguments and the BS that we don't even realize how on the same page that we are, how easily it can be done. It has been done time and time again by our people. When you go back and look at every generation, in the civil rights era, they had to unite. You know, during segregation, they had to unite. During slavery, they had to unite. I mean, don't believe the hype that we are told about how much black people hate other black people, because majority of the time that's not true. And most times they just point to the vocal minority. But, you know, don't ever be fooled when they try to tell you something about race baiting or you pulling the race card, because obviously they are the ones who invented the concept of race. And they obviously see it. And all this does is show us that they recognize what is going on. They know that it's wrong, and they wouldn't accept it for their own selves. But they tell us that we should accept it for ourselves and forget about all of our history and all of that. And, you know, as long as we keep accepting it for ourselves, then, you know, what are we going to do? It's up to us. They're not going to change. Are we going to fucking change it?
Many people are upset and angry that last week, O.J. Simpson, the Juice, was granted parole out of Nevada. Many felt that he should have remained in jail, remained in prison after 9 years, not for the crime he was actually in prison for, but because they believe he got away with a double murder in California. He did. And O.J. Simpson now will be a free man by October 1st. And many people are angry, but I have to be honest with you. I could care less what happens with O.J. Simpson. After the 92 verdict dealing with O.J. Simpson and how he gave black people the Heisman pose, I could care less what happens to O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, what did he say? I'm not black, I'm O.J.? Is that what he said? Something to that effect many years ago? This is a guy that wanted nothing to do with black women. This is a guy that would only be seen with white women. And then all of a sudden he gets accused of murder, and all of a sudden now he plays the race card. This is a guy that was found guilty of a double homicide murder in a civil court where he couldn't take the fifth. This is a convicted murderer, and he belongs behind bars. But here's the thing, our founding fathers believe. I'll let you finish. Let me finish.
He's not convicted murderer.
He was convicted in the civil court of murder of Ron Goldman and his ex-wife in a civil court, not in a criminal court. In a civil court, he was found guilty. But here's the thing, our founding fathers believed, because they're God-fearing people, they believed that it was better that a guilty person would go free than an innocent person would be convicted, because they believed that in the end, you will be found guilty in the next life.
Stop right there. First of all, O.J. Simpson was found not guilty in a murder case, but found
in a criminal court
in a civil case. And secondly, at the end of the day, our founding fathers wasn't worth a damn. They were not as godly as you claim for them to be. Many of them were slave owners who dehumanized and devalued other human beings. So to call them great, I'm not with that. And also, O.J. Simpson, He may have committed those murders, but he was found not guilty. So I will tell you all, like you told us, respect the jury's verdict, like you did in the Trayvon Martin case. Respect the jury's verdict. Respect the jury's verdict in the O.J. Simpson case in the murder trial also.
I do respect the jury's
Well, then
position
stop
on this
crying
thing,
about
but
it, and the man's not guilty.
At the end of the day, he's a killer.
And this thing about dating white women, all black athletes that come through that system of NFL sports and professional sports, that's what they want them to do.
I don't care if he dates white women. At the end of the day, he's a killer.
But that's
and
the
he was
plan.
Found guilty,
Take the rich
period.
black
End
man.
of story.
Take the rich black man and make sure you get him a white woman. That's the plan.
George Zimmerman arrested again Friday night, this time facing charges of aggravated assault and domestic violence with a weapon.
Even though there was no firearm alleged to have been used in this offense, I think in abundance of caution, it would be best to go ahead and order you to surrender any firearms that you may have in your possession.
His attorney says he's accused of throwing a wine bottle at a girlfriend in Lake Mary, Florida. It's the third domestic incident George Zimmerman has been accused of since he was acquitted in 2013 in the shooting death of Trayvon Martin. His attorney, Don West, attempting to make light of the accusations.
It's clear he hasn't been very lucky with the ladies the last few months.
Twice in 2013, police were called to respond to incidents involving Zimmerman, but charges were never filed. The first time, his then-wife, Shelley Zimmerman, declined to press charges after accusing him of threatening her and her father with a weapon. Charges from a different incident were dropped later that year when Zimmerman's girlfriend, Samantha Sheeby, accused him of pointing a gun at her and barricading himself in her home. This time, police say a new girlfriend was involved. The woman never called police. Instead, she told officers what happened after she was pulled over later in a traffic stop. Police say Zimmerman was not with her during the stop, and police say she was not injured. Zimmerman's attorney, Don West, said Zimmerman, who is now 31 years old, is clearly still struggling with the attention and scrutiny from the Trayvon Martin case.
Certainly anybody that's been through what he's been through over the last couple of years would benefit from some counseling. It's been a devastating experience that he's had, that he's working through, and again, I'm not a psychologist. I don't know how it's manifesting itself. I'm concerned, obviously, as we are here again this morning.
George Zimmerman had another confrontation where he had to call Seminole County deputies for help. Investigative reporter Carla Ray is the first reporter to break the details in this latest case. And Carla, he's considered the victim this time.
Yeah, he called 911 over the weekend after a man punched him square in the face at a bar so hard it broke his glasses. But witnesses told deputies Zimmerman had it coming.
What started the argument?
He recognized me.
Inside this local bar and grill right on the St. Johns River in Sanford, investigators say the infamous George Zimmerman is accused of attracting trouble again.
He told me he was going to kill me. He told me he'd shoot me. He punched me in the face.
Only Eyewitness News obtained Zimmerman's latest desperate call to 911, asking for help from inside Gators Riverside over the weekend. According to this report, Zimmerman claimed he was explaining to people sitting at a table that he shot Trayvon Martin in self-defense when a large man approached and asked, quote, "You're bragging about that?" before punching him square in the face.
This man just punched me in the face.
Okay, is he still there?
Yep. He said he's going to kill me.
Does he have any weapon?
He needs to send like 3 or 4 cops.
Zimmerman is considered the victim in this case, but witnesses told deputies the problem started because he was bragging about killing the unarmed teen in 2012, claiming he said, quote, "I love your tattoos. My name is George Zimmerman. You know, that guy who killed Trayvon Martin," and even showing his identification card. It's not the first time his acquittal has made him a target. Just over a year ago, Matthew Apperson was arrested and accused of trying to kill Zimmerman during a road rage incident.
The guy punched me in the face and called me a lover.
The gun that George Zimmerman used to kill Trayvon Martin has reportedly been auctioned off for over $120,000. Now, this comes days after an interview where Zimmerman said Trayvon's parents share the blame in his death because they didn't raise their son right.
It's interesting. The audience is outraged by it. You see, hear that?
I want to know how George's parents raised him because after that whole incident, he also had a lot of different law problems. I find it very interesting that he said that because you're the one who everybody said, you got to quit, not acquitted, what is it?
Acquitted.
Not acquitted, you got to acquit it.
Yeah.
And then you go into this and you say all these things and you're trying to, and succeeded auctioning off that gun. who bought it will not show their face. Why are you scared to show your face?
Because
Why are you
maybe
scared
it's
to show your
somebody
face
who,
about the
because
gun?
there were a couple of people who were trying to get the gun just to get it off the street.
I hope
Get
so.
it away from him. And get it away.
He clearly has no remorse. The issue that I take is after the auction closed, this is his quote. He said, "First and foremost, I would like to thank and give the glory to God for a successful auction." That's what, how was God glorified in this situation?
Oh,
and I don't like it
hiding
when
behind God.
Christians, and I am born again. When Christians, they can kind of hide behind their faith. The same thing can happen with Islamic terrorists. They use their faith almost as a shield to justify their actions. I'm sorry, God was not glorified in this situation.
It's so frustrating. It's hard for me to talk about this because, as many of you know, I covered that trial. I was in the courtroom every single day. I got extremely close to Sabrina Fulton, Trayvon's mother. I got very close to Javaris Fulton, who's actually working in New York and doing extremely well, Trayvon's brother.
Nice.
I'm very close to them. And what upsets me about this is he continues to demonize the victim. And something that I want to say, because I now know the family so well, did everybody know that Trayvon Martin's favorite subject and the subject he was best at was math? Did everybody know about that? Did everybody know that Barrington Irving, who was the youngest person and first black person to pilot a plane around the world in 2007, took Trayvon on his plane because Trayvon wanted to fly jets? No one knew that. No one knew that. And so the fact that he's saying that these lovely, incredible, grieving parents weren't good parents is disgusting. It is so despicable. I don't even want to give him breath. I don't want to give him my breath. I just can't.
And George, being a stand-up guy you are, you thought it would be smart to re-kill their son, huh? By attacking them. Unfortunately for you, they are still going to always be gracious people, and you're just going to be the dog-do that you are. So, speaking, I'm sorry, because you know what? This could have been anybody's son. Forget the color. He was wearing a hood.
Yeah.
Okay? He had Skittles in his hand. Okay? Yeah. That could have been your son, my grandson, could have been any of our kids. And this idea that because the law came down on your side, and sometimes the law does that. It doesn't always do what we want it to do. But you gotta quit it. But for you to then make it 10 times worse. For the parents, to me, it's like doing it all over again.
Keep your mouth shut.
So shut up and just take your money and move on.
I want to be labeled a human who loves humans. I'm tired of being labeled. I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
Oh, girl, don't set up the Twitter on fire.
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
My Lord. What did you just say? Stop the tape right now. Okay.
I will say this.
What?
I mean, I don't know where my roots go to. I don't know how far back they go. I can't go on, I don't know how far back, and I don't know what country in Africa I'm from. But I do know that my roots are in Louisiana. I'm an American. And that's a colorless person, because we're all people. I have lots of things running through my veins.
I mean, you're going to get a lot of flack for saying you're not African American. You know that, right?
I don't label myself.
Okay. So I want you to say what you really mean by that.
What I really mean by that is I'm an American. That's what I really mean. I have darker skin. I have a nice, interesting grade of hair. I connect with Caucasian. I connect with Asian. I connect with Black. I connect with Indian. I connect with each culture.
You are a melting pot in one body.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
Isn't that what America's supposed to be?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
That's
for
what
sure.
it's supposed to be. I personally feel that way.